Hello everyone, it's Dr. Wolf here, and in this video I just want to give you some feedback on your evolution practice homework to prepare you for your formative today. So, what caused the rocket pocket mouse population to change? For the claim, I said the volcanic eruptions caused the population to change. So, what's my evidence? Well, we have these graphs, but importantly, we also want to talk about what's going up, an important thing happening in the scenario, specifically the volcanic eruptions. So, after the volcanic eruptions, the number of dark mice increased from 20 to 120, and afterwards, same thing, while the number of light mice decreased from 100 to 35. All right, so it's not just saying what happened to the mice, but the fact that it's paired with this volcanic eruption. All right, so now let's try to make sense of this. So I gave you this little kind of like helpful template for you to begin your reasoning. So the fact that the dark color mice increased so drastically after the volcanic eruption suggests that there's a cause and effect relationship. All right. So notice how I said suggests. All right. It doesn't necessarily prove it. All right. It could have just been coincidence. But what we could do now is we could bring in our biological knowledge and say, no, this is how evolution works. This is how natural selections, this is how the volcanic eruptions would have caused this. All right. So I'm going to go on. One thing I want you to keep in mind is you do not need to say this cause and effect relationship every time. Like you might get evidence, right, on different explanations where you might not need to say this. But for this specific instance, this does work out well here. All right. So now let's talk about our knowledge of natural selection to bring us home. So I always like to do this. What's the variation? What's the selective pressure? What happens as a result? All right. So the variation in our population of mice is the fact that there's light and dark mice. Right. With the volcanic eruptions, the selective pressure of predators was easier to avoid for the dark mice as they were able to blend into the landscape. So notice that the selection pressure is not the dark rock. It's not the volcanic eruptions, right? What's causing some mice to die and not reproduce and what's causing others to survive is the predators. It just happens that the environment changed to make it easier or less easy for predators to see certain mice. But the selective pressure is the predators. All right, so now that we have our variation selective pressure, the dark mice therefore survive and reproduce, causing more of their genes to pass on to the next generation, causing the population to become darker over time. So hopefully this is a helpful example of what an explanation might look like, all right, and how we might use our terminology to help us out. So let's look at also identifying the different types of selection we have. So cheetahs with longer legs are able to run. I know you guys have looked at this problem. So this would be an example of stabilizing selection, right? Our cheetahs are like maintaining like the medium legs is the best trait. And so we're going to see less and less short legs, less and less long legs. So the average is going to stay the same, but more and more of our cheetahs are going to have that average trait of medium legs. All right. For the next one, all right, this is going to be an example of disruptive selection where the short beaks are advantageous and the long beaks are advantageous. Medium beaks, not so much. And so the number of individuals that we have on the y-axis, there's more for short beaks, less for medium beaks, more again for long beaks. All right. And then lastly, our last example would be directional selection. Here, it's more advantageous to have short wings. And so we see more and more of our individuals shift from having an average medium wings to more and more short wings. All right. So hopefully this video was helpful.